I will be reading Psalm 66. Be merciful to me, God. My enemies are conquered. All day long, my adversaries pursue me all day long. Their pride many are attacking. I am afraid. I put my trust in God. Lord, I praise. God, I trust. What can mere mortals?
Just a quick note before the prayer. Um, we, for many years, have supported Eastern European Mission, and they have a fund drive this time of year called $1 Million Sunday, and we're not going to participate in that because of our budget situation. But any individual who's interested can contribute directly to them. Uh, Something special has happened this year. They've distributed more Bibles and teaching material than ever in their 60-year history over various countries across Eastern Europe. For example, there's a certain language that a small sector of people speak, and in a congregation of worshipers, they only have one Bible in that language. And Eastern European Mission does unique things like develop methods to put together teams to translate and manufacture, print, and distribute Bibles. That's just one example. So I'd like to ask your consideration for that mission that we've supported for many years. Let's pray. To God be the glory is our prayer. May we learn your will, obey from the heart, and fervently continue to mature as we daily walk toward our heavenly home. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
On the highest place, for you are the great high priest. We place you high above all else, and we come to worship at your feet. We place you on the highest place, for you are the great high priest. We place you high above all else, and we come to and worship at your feet. And we come to you and worship at your feet.
If you're visiting, not aware we have communion packets out in the foyer. Matt, thank you for that song. We place who on the highest place? We place who? Jesus. Therefore, since we have a great high priest
who has gone through the heaven. Jesus, the Son of God. Let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. We do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weakness, but we have one that has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet without sin. Let us then approach the throne of grace, confident, so that we may receive mercy, find grace. Help us in our time of need. We come to this communion together. I ask for a few moments. We place Jesus in Christ. Let go of distraction. To put him at the center of our lives. That is the purpose of this time together. Place him in Christ. Pray with me. Father God, we bow before you in reverence for the gift of Christ. He suffered as we suffer. He was tempted as we are tempted. He became spotless lamb, the sacrifice for our sin. Father, listen to our hearts as you recognize the sacrifice of Jesus through the taking of this bread. In Christ. Father God, as we bow and take this cup, we recognize Jesus as our great high priest, the only mediator, whose blood has provided the grace necessary that we may be called your child, that we may approach your throne. We proclaim this truth in the taking of this cup. Jesus is our Redeemer. In his name we pray. Not to be contrary to what Jason said about Christmas still happening, it's customary in the Keeter household, approximately 2 weeks before Christmas, no more than 16 days, no less than 12, that we drive to the farmer's market and we pick out a freshly cut Fraser fir, approximately 7.5 feet in length. So yesterday, Miriam and I got in the truck and headed out to the farmer's market, discussing the tree we would buy, which farmer we would go and see, because we visited many over the years. We rounded the corner into the farmer's market. No 7-foot, 5-inch Fraser. None to be had. We had not considered on our way there that there would not be a tree. We had considered we might have to go with 6.5 feet. Might have to go with 8 feet. We might have to pay a little bit more money. But we never considered for the moment that there would not be a tree. We were pretty disheartened. There was actually a line of people waiting for the guy to take them off the truck. So we said, all right. We went and had lunch. Went over to the outlets, did some shopping. And not to be discouraged, we went back to the farmer's market again. No avail. This morning, we do not have a Christmas tree at our house yet. I'll be honest, driving home, I was a little bit mad. I was upset because we had planned to get the tree, set the tree up, Christmas decorations, all things. And I felt myself getting angry. And then I felt myself starting to laugh. Just thinking, you spoiled little man. You're so used to getting what you want when you want. Just being able to pop in and watch. What constitutes a problem? Like you? Nothing. I say this story for us to consider as we give a portion of what we give back. How we can really help solve real problems, tangible problems of homelessness, problems of absence of the word. Those are all things we are to pray with me. Father God, you have blessed us. We may not realize it, but the day we were born in this country, we won the lottery. We have opportunities, we have resources beyond what most of this world. You have blessed us in abundance. I ask that we search our hearts and we give generously. In the name of Christ, let us.
You know, this is one of those stand-up songs, but I'm not going to make you do that. We've done a lot of that. And I just ask you to sing loud, okay? That's all I need. We're going to sing two more songs before Michael gets up here to bring us a lesson this morning. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Heroes the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love. We're going to dismiss our kids, ages 3 through 5th grade, and take part in children's church or knowledge seekers. Let's all stand up together. I will make a stand for this one. And this will be right before our lesson this morning, but the kids can go while we sing. There is beyond the azure blue a guide concealed from human sight. He tinted skies with heavenly hue, and framed the worlds with his great might. There is a God, he is alive, in whom we live and we survive. From dust our God created man. He is our God, the great I am. Our God who sat upon a tree, a life was willing there to give, that he from sin might set men free, and evermore with him could live. is a God, He is alive, in whom we live and we survive. From dust our God created man, He is our God, the great I am.
Morning. Good to have all of you here. I may have mentioned this before, but many years ago, one of my friends said something that has stuck with me for a very long time. I keep my favorite quotes of all time. The world is a ridiculous place full of ridiculous people. This phrase has proven itself true time and time and time again. And now that we've been through the year 2020, I think we've all seen some ridiculous stuff and some ridiculous people. Last week I read 2 news stories, which at first I thought were just examples of how ridiculous our world has gotten. But the more I thought about them, the more I realized how symbolic those 2 stories actually are for where we are today as a society. And so this morning's lesson is going to be based on one of those stories I read, and then next week's lesson will be based on the other. And this morning I'm going to have sort of a long introduction to this, so just bear with me. I am going somewhere with all of this. We are now in our 10th month since COVID has disrupted things. And if you remember way back when, back in the month of March when we first closed our doors and went to a virtual service, back then it was all new. And we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know how long it was going to be. We didn't know how things were going to play out. Back then when it first started, we did not have perspective. But as time passes, we get perspective. As time goes on, we start to see some things. And that's when we start to see some things that might make us ask questions. Because maybe some of those things don't completely add up. And I know that here in this building, and among those who are watching online, there are a wide range of opinions on exactly how we should be handling this virus. There are different opinions on wearing masks, and different opinions on social distancing, and different opinions on one-way aisles in the grocery stores. All that stuff that has altered our society, the way we just do day-to-day life over the past 10 years. We've all got different opinions. But even though there's a wide range of opinions, I'm pretty sure we've all been a little bit infuriated over some of the hypocrisy that's taking place, some of the stories that are coming out of all of this. When a government institutes a travel ban, regardless of how you feel about the travel ban, when they say there's a travel ban, but then they hop on a plane to travel somewhere, it makes us mad. When they close down businesses for all of us, and then they secretly go and do business and keep doing the things that they want to do, it makes us mad. And stories like this keep on coming out. And you may question some of the policies that are put in place and wonder, well, how is that even going to help? What is the point of that? North Carolina now has a 10 p.m. curfew. I have no idea how a curfew stops the spread of the virus. It doesn't make sense that it's okay to be out at 9:59 and then it's extra dangerous at 10 o'clock, so don't be out there. In my mind, I don't get that. There are a lot of rules now that seem kind of pointless. They don't make sense. You may be looking around saying there's a lot of rules and regulations and do this and don't do that don't serve any purpose at all. Actually, they do serve a purpose. There's a man named Bruce Schneier. He is an expert in the field of security. And he says, quote, "Security is both a feeling and a reality. And they're different. You can feel secure even though you're not. And you can be secure even though you don't feel it. And he wrote a book a long time ago about this very thing, in which he coined the phrase security theater. And security theater is all about the feeling. It's about making you think that you're safe, think that you're secure, and everything is okay, even though you might not be. The biggest example of this is the TSA. After 9/11, we had a whole lot of fears about terrorism, about planes being hijacked. It was bad. And so the government institutes the Transportation Security Administration. If you've flown on a plane lately, you know about these guys, right? You got to go through that security line, and they're the ones, they protect you on that plane. They search you, they search your bag, they do all that stuff to protect you when you're on the plane. They make sure there's no weapons or bombs or anything bad ends up on that plane. Right? Did you know that each year they're evaluated? There's a team that comes in, and they're hush-hush, sneaky, they're quiet, see what exactly is going to happen. And what they do is they try to sneak weapons and bombs and all sorts of stuff onto the plane to see if the TSA is going to catch it and how well they do. TSA consistently fails. Over and over again. In 2015, they had a fail rate of 95%. They only found 5% of the stuff that they were supposed to find. According to many reports, they consistently fail at a rate of 80% year after year after year. So, the question is, why are they still there? Why do we still have to take off our shoes and throw away our bottle of water and jump through all the hoops before we can get on the plane? I'll tell you why. Because people feel safer. When it looks like someone is doing something, people feel safer. It's security theater, and sometimes they do catch some stuff, but the big reason they're there is to make you feel confident, make you feel secure that you can get on the plane. Imagine if we just got rid of the TSA right now and just let everybody hop on the plane. People would lose their minds. There's no way I'm getting on that plane. It's not safe. They're there to make you feel safe. When Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, the city descended into chaos. There were people getting violent. There were rapes and murders. And after everyone was ordered to evacuate, not everyone did. Some of those violent people stayed. And they had to declare martial law, and they called in the troops to restore peace and order. They called in the 82nd Airborne. I was one of those soldiers who went there. This is a picture of me and my platoon at the Superdome. That was our main job, was to guard the Superdome, the area around the Superdome. This is me right here, way long ago. Look at that picture. That'll restore order, won't it? That'll quiet things down. When the 82nd Airborne rolls into town, we have the superior firepower. You don't mess with that. I mean, look at all of those rifles there. We've got M4s all over the place. Me specifically, I got an M4, but look at that right there. That is an M203 grenade launcher underneath it. That's what I'm carrying. Except, wait a minute. There's no magazine in my weapon. Where's the ammo? Where'd the ammo go? If you go online and start looking up 82nd Airborne at Katrina, you're going to find some pretty cool pictures. Like that. No ammo. Or that. No ammo. Where'd it go? We looked intimidating walking around the city with all of our guns. But the reality is, in our platoon, this guy over here is the only one. This guy right here is the only one who is allowed to pull the trigger because he has a shotgun with non-lethal beanbag rounds. That is it. He's the only one. It was all a show. It was security theater. Now, it worked. It intimidated people. That's what it was supposed to do, but it was all a show. Today, with COVID-19, we have some security theater taking place. There are things we have to do because they actually work, but there are also some things we have to do that we're thinking, wait a minute, what is going on here? It doesn't help anything, but it gives people the feeling that something is actually being done, that our government is here to help, and they're going to make us all safer. Because when you can't actually fix the problem, you can make people think you're working on fixing it. When you can't make them safer, you can make it look like we're going to be safer. Give them a feeling of security. But the question we have to ask this morning is, how do we really feel in all of this? See, this brings me to the very first news story that I saw. It came out of Ohio, the Ohio High School Athletic Association. They had to figure out what to do about their sports. Are we going to have an athletic year this year? Are we going to have teams? And what sports will we play and what will not play? They had to make those decisions, and they decided that wrestling, you know that sport where you got to grab onto each other, you get all sweaty and you're rolling around? Wrestling is on. We're going to go ahead and have wrestling. But you can't shake hands. The wrestlers are not allowed to shake hands before or after a match. When I first read that story, my initial thought was, the world is a ridiculous place full of ridiculous people. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized how symbolic this story actually is for where we are today. You can wrestle, but you can't shake hands. You can fight. You can beat each other up, but you can't show good sportsmanship, shake their hand after it's over, and say, good job, man. Way to go. Where we are today is you can go out in the streets and riot. You can burn things down, you can destroy people's businesses, but you can't have a family meal with more than 10 people. You can't travel and go be with your family. Does that make you feel good about where we are in this society? As I thought about this story and all the news stories coming out of 2020, I realized that what we are being told, the message that is being consistently put into our brains, is that our anger and our outrage and our hatred is legitimate. That's legitimate. That should be addressed, but peace and love are highly discouraged. That's the message that is being pushed on us. 1 John 4, verse 18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. Let's pause for a second on that verse, because what exactly does that mean? There's no fear in love. I think it means just what it says. You know, if there is a key verse in the New Testament, it is love. Love, love, love. The New Testament talks constantly, consistently about love. God is love. The greatest of these is love. Love comes from God. Where does fear come from? Yeah, fear comes from Satan. And Satan wants you afraid. Satan wants you fearful. Because when you're fearful, you make bad decisions. When you're fearful, you do things you wouldn't normally do. When you're fearful, you're not thinking right. You're not thinking clearly. There is no fear in love. But perfect love casts out fear. 2 Timothy 1, verse 7, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. With COVID-19 plaguing us, with that being the big story of 2020, there's a lot of fear out there. A lot of fear. There's a lot of fear all around us, and I've seen some ridiculous things in response to that fear. I've seen some bad decisions in response to that fear. I've seen people doing things they wouldn't normally do because of the fear that is taking over. What's Jesus say about that? Matthew 10, verse 28, and do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Statistically speaking, COVID has a very low chance of killing you. Even with all the stats that fluctuate and all the math that gets a little fuzzy of how we're supposed to count this and how we're supposed to count that, even with all of that, experts still agree that the recovery rate is somewhere between 97 and 99.75%. And yet, there is a lot of fear. I get it, I might die. If I get that, I might die. Yeah. Okay? There is a slight chance. If you get it, you might die. The reality is, every time you wake up in the morning, you are now facing a day full of ways to die. Every day, there is a possibility that you will die. In fact, 450 people die in the U.S. every year from falling out of bed. As soon as you wake up, you might not even make it. You might fall out of bed and die before you put your 2 feet on the floor. That's a possibility. Dogs kill 34 people each year. How many of you got a dog? We do. They might kill me. This is not the other countries. This is just the U.S. Did you know vending machines kill 13 people every year? Vending machines. Over in Russia, icicles kill about 100 people each year. In Africa, ants kill 30 people each year. So there are a million different ways to die. There are so many ways to die. So if you died right now, would you be okay with that? If you died right now, if you walked out this door right after this service and died, are you okay with it? Can you say, it is well with my soul, and I am ready for that possibility? If this building fell in right now and every single person in here died, would we be okay with that? Do not fear those who kill the body. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. If you catch the virus, if you test positive for COVID-19, you probably won't die. It probably won't kill the body. The question is, right now, is it killing your soul? Is it killing you in here and up here? Is it causing you to fear? Is it causing you to isolate? Is it causing you to lose perspective and lose sight of God? God says we should not fear. And if we have fear, He has the antidote. The antidote is love. Love is what conquers that fear, and it is God's love that drives it away. But the government, they also say that they have the antidote. They say, look, we're going to do things. We're going to put restrictions in place. We're going to create rules. We're going to do all this stuff so that you can feel safe, so that you can feel secure and you don't have to fear. But what message do we end up getting when their plan is it's okay to wrestle, to fight, but it is not okay to shake hands and get along with the person who might be our MSNBC posted an article on December 10th, just a few days ago. And the first paragraph says this, quote, America needs therapy. We have a mental crisis on our hands with no end in sight. 1 in 3 of us now meets the threshold for clinical anxiety or depression, and cases of depression have increased threefold since the pandemic. All the chronic worrying and isolation from the pandemic have literally rewired our brains, and it's not for the better. They are right. The mental health aspect has gotten bad. That's the thing that doesn't get reported nearly as much. Suicides have skyrocketed since all of this has happened. And that was a problem before, but it has gotten really bad, and it can be attributed as a byproduct, what's happening with COVID. Depression and anxiety have skyrocketed. MSNBC is exactly right. We have a mental health crisis on our hands. But look at the headline of that very article that says that. COVID is destroying Americans' mental and financial health. McConnell has the power to help. The first half of the article is about the mental health crisis. The second half is blaming Mitch McConnell. It's bad-mouthing an entire political party. It's basically saying it's all their fault. And in this article, they say, well, if we would just give people more money, that'd help the problem. If we would have a socialized healthcare system, that would help the problem. If we didn't have so many of these people that we don't like running things, we could just get them out. That would fix the problem. We would be safe, and we would be secure. Everything would be okay. Is that really the solution? If we go back to our passage, 1 John 4, 18 through 21, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, for fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. We love because he first loved us. If anyone says, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love God, whom he has not seen. And this commandment we have from him: whoever loves God must also love his brother. As a society, we are isolated. We are fearful, and we are divisive. As a society, we are all the more happy to fight and to point fingers and to blame this person or that person, blame this party or that party, or blame all around. Let's fight them. Let's get mad at them. Let's not like them. We are happy to allow the wrestling. The handshake at the end, hey, let's get along, that's off limits. That's the message that's getting put out. Be fearful. Be hateful. Point the finger. Those people over there, they are the enemy. But we are supposed to be peacemakers. We are supposed to be gentle. We're supposed to be known for our love for one another. We are supposed to be able to fight for what we believe in. Absolutely. To contend for the faith, to put on the whole armor of God, and to go into that battle courageous and mighty. But when we're done, we're not supposed to be holding on to those grudges. We don't refuse to shake hands. We don't say, well, I love God, and then turn around and hate our brother. John says that would make us a liar. Today, there are a lot of people who hate their brother. When you are allowed human contact for competition, when you are allowed human contact to fight, human contact to get the best of someone, but you are not allowed human contact in love. And that MSNBC article is right. Our brains get quiet. That takes a hold on us. And the thing is, we are engaging in security theater, telling people, don't worry, this will keep you safe. Meanwhile, the mental health wards are over. They say this is for your own good. Depression rates skyrocket. The government's going to fix things and make it all better. You just have to make sure that you never touch anyone and don't ever travel anywhere for Thanksgiving. Don't go to Grandma and Grandpa's for Christmas. No parties with extended family. Just stay inside, isolate. You need to talk to each other, do it through a computer. What's the result? Fear, depression, anxiety, suicide. God says the solution to fear is love. And we love because He first loved us. close this morning by offering an invitation. It's an invitation to follow Christ. And the only reason that we even have an option to follow Christ is because He loved us first. You're in a bad place. You're in a place we had no hope. No hope at all. But He loved us, and so He gave Himself for us. And if you need to put Him on in baptism, this is your opportunity. If you've already been baptized, but you have another need, you need the prayers of the church, you need reconciliation, you need something and you don't even know what it is, you just know you need to hand it to Christ. You know that you've got fear. It needs to go away. You've got that depression and anxiety, whatever it is. I encourage you to hand it over to God. Let His love take care of it. Please come while we stand and sing.
I stand to praise you, but I fall to my knees. My spirit is willing, but my flesh is so weak. Like a fire in my soul, and the flame make me whole. Lord, you know where I've been, so light the fire in my heart again. I feel your arms around me, as the power of your healing begins. Your spirit moves right through me, like a mighty rushing wind, like the fire in my soul, and the flame make me whole. Lord, you know where I've been, so light the fire in my heart again. Like the fire in my soul, and the flame make me whole. Lord, you know where I've been, so light the fire in my heart.